yes, we are the sons of liberty. Pay the price they're asking, boys, always pay the tyrant's fee. Never give up the struggle, boys, fight for the liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Stand for the rights of man, boys, stand against all tyranny. Hang the lance of freedom, boys, high on the liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. It will grow as we grow, boys, it will be as strong as we. We must cling to our faith, boys, faith in the liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty.
Join Mark and Don for Weapons Wednesday, where you'll learn how to use everything from your bare hands to your average AR-15.
The 12-gauge autoloader,
Sure.
the 45 long slide
Yep.
with laser sighting,
You betcha.
the Uzi 9mm
Yes, sir.
phased plasma rifle in a 40-watt range.
What are you, crazy?
Wrong.
Okay. They'll talk about that too. So whatever question you have about whatever weapon you have, call Mark and Don on Weapons Wednesday. And remember, your mind is your first best weapon.
We all need to prepare ourselves. You might have the food, water, gold, and silver, but ask yourself, are you truly prepared? That's why you need to visit MaineMilitary.com. MaineMilitary.com carries everything you need. Gas masks, fire starter kits, high-capacity magazines, chemical suits, military surplus items, and much more. Do you own a firearm? MaineMilitary.com has a large selection of pistols and rifles suited for your needs. Are your local stores sold out of ammunition? Call or visit them today for prices on hard-to-find ammo and bulk ammo orders. You don't need to worry about having a military surplus store in your area because MaineMilitary.com is the only store you'll ever need, all from the comfort of your computer. Visit them online today at MaineMilitary.com. That's Maine, like the state, military.com.
Liberty's Guardian, Guns and Ammunition, a family-owned business located in the heart of Ohio's hunting country. Let us help you find the right shotgun or rifle for you. Or if you're looking for a pistol or concealed carry, we have a nice selection of compact and subcompact pistols for that too. Check out our website at www.libertiesguardian.com. That website again is www.libertiesguardian.com. Go to the website and check out our selection today.
I had a dream the other night that, well, I didn't understand. A figure walked in through the mist with a flintlock in his hand. His clothes were torn and dirty as he stood there by my bed. He took off his three-cornered hat, and speaking low to me, he said, "We fought a revolution to secure our liberty. We wrote the Constitution as a shield from tyranny. For future generations, this legacy we gave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. The freedoms we secured for you, we hoped you'd always keep. But tyrants labored endlessly while your parents were asleep. Your freedom's gone, your courage lost. You're no more than a slave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. You buy permits to travel and permits to own a gun, permits to start a business or to build a place for one. On land that you believe you own, you pay a yearly rent, although you have no voice in saying how the money's spent. Your children must attend a school that doesn't educate, and your Christian values can't be taught according to the state. You read about the current news in a regulated press, and you pay a tax you do not owe to please the IRS. Your money is no longer made of silver nor of gold. You trade your wealth for paper so your life can be controlled. You pay for crimes that make our nation turn from God and shame. You've taken Satan's number. You've traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm so they could burn down churches and seize the family farm. God in jail. Harass your fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oaths they've sworn. And your daughters visit doctors so their children won't be born. Your leaders send artillery and guns to foreign shores and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Can you regain the freedoms for which we fought and died? Or don't you have the courage or the faith to stand with pride? And are there no more values for which you'll fight to save? Or do you wish your children to live in fear and be a slave? Oh, sons of the Republic, arise, take a stand, defend the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. Preserve our great republic and each God-given right. And pray to God to keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he'd vanished in the mist from whence he came. His words were true. We are not free, but we have ourselves to blame. For even now as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside in a dream while you were asleep, and wondered what remains of the freedoms he'd fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave? Is this still the land of the free and home of the brave? God bless you, and God bless this republic.
And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Afternoon Intelligence Report. I'm Mark Hornke. One day closer to victory for all of our brothers and sisters on and behind the lines in occupied territories, west, north, northeast, and south. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to us on Libertytreeradio.4mg.com, Liberty Tree Radio on YouTube, the Liberty Tree Radio channel, live stream even as we speak, and AM and FM micro stations, AM and FM conventional stations, and CB base stations, along with UltraNet, Hallmark, and Golden Spike Technologies east and west of the Mississippi, along with Alaska. Good afternoon to all of our friends out there in Lower 49, including the great state of Jefferson, along with CONUS, the outlying two states, territories, and the clock, 5:09 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is Weapons Wednesday. It is the 23rd of September. It is the 12th year of open Fabian Socialist and Soviet Socialist occupation of America with a K. 2020 Old Earth Calendar, 2020 Dance of Swords, Battle for the Republic. You're living it. Isn't that exciting? All the fun stuff going on right now, and the adventure continues. Anyway, hold on here. Smell that coffee. It's like the morning program, but we don't do the morning program anymore. Hold on here. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Actually, that's from a $400 coffee maker. Seriously, that we didn't pay $400 for. But it's amazing, again, more money than brains. Some of the stuff you find, and, it's like it was being disposed of, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, but that's okay. In fact, it was going to be resurrected, and the people who were supposed to resurrect it, they were going to get rid of it. So it's a Dutch $400 coffee maker. Yeah. Well, would you call it Flemish? Because it's the lowlands. It's a Flemish. That doesn't sound good, doesn't it? Flemish. Oh God. What do you got in that coffee? It's Flemish coffee, sir. Ew. Anyway, the lowlands, Holland, Denmark, that kind of thing. Anyway, it is Weapons Wednesday, and for all of you out there, again, catch as catch can. I really can't say anything about, finding a particular piece of technology that we're going to be fortunate enough to say, wow, it's right there. If it is, it may be there for a minute, but also the price is outrageous. There's nothing cheap out there right now. There are some things that are less expensive, and that term fits nowadays. Less expensive, but not cheap. Now, if you've been moving a year ago when we told you to, you're smiling right now. If you bought that Walter Creed when they were $250 a piece, then you're smiling right now. If you bought that SKS carbine, first of all, try and find one. But if you bought that SKS carbine only a couple months ago for $300 or $250, if you bought the first of the cheapest ones that were, crack stocks, and $350, well, try and find one. And if you do, look at the price. You're smiling right now. I know you are. You're smiling. It's the same with pump shotguns, guys. I told you, if you won one, there was a little more money before the coronavirus. $109 to get you a decent communist Chinese police pump shotgun of the kind that they execute and kill people with all day in China. So they got to make them good enough to work. And they were brand new. $109, $119 get you a 5-shot pump, mimic of the Model 870, a Chinese ripoff, which is okay. And you'd have 5 guns for the price of less than you pay for one AR-15 right now. Now, there are a few deals. I won't say great deals, but there are a few AR-15s that are a little less expensive. They're hanging around out there. The Delton guns, I think I've seen one or two. If you search the system through any of the regular vendors for about $589, $550 to $589 might get you a Delton. But that's about it. Everything else is pressed up over and beyond that. And if it's lower, if you pay attention and read, you'll notice parts are missing. It's a kit gun. It's not a whole gun. It's a kit gun. Oh, wow. Then I got to go look for more parts, which you can do. It's not a problem. The big thing here, again, certain guns, other than for collectability, you want to kind of steer clear of because there's nothing to really do with them right now. Check Model 52 rifle. Beautiful firearm. Years ago when they came in, the gun ammo came in with it. We told everybody buy a pallet of ammo if you're going to buy the gun because, buy cases, because was already an orphan cartridge back in the day, back in the 90s. Whatever military surplus or new production is out there is going to the countries that actually have it and are at war. Example, there are a bunch of countries in the Middle East that have these Czech M52s and the 56 or the 54? Whichever. They have those in looks like an AK, but it's not. Those are in 7.62 by 45 caliber. And again, that's why the ammunition's going not to the U.S. because there's no reason to. There are plenty of other people out there that'll buy it and pay top dollar outside the U.S. without all the BS you've got to deal with. You're dealing with the United States. 303 British Enfield. There is some ammunition. There's still some preview partisan that shows up. There's even some military ball surplus laying around, but you got to dig for it now. 3-4 months ago, you could still get some Enfield ammo, and that's if you were going to buy the Enfield. First you buy the ammo, then you buy the rifle. It's that simple. Now there is a lot of 8mm Mauser, and there still is some 7.62 by 54R Russian in a number of different manufacturers, all of them serviceable, all of them useful. So that's an option, but now you're talking $230 to $350 per gun for a Nagant. There are some right now actually over at Classic Firearms. They have a Russian M9130 Mosin Nagant rifle, bolt action 7.62 by 54R. Arsenal refinished fair surplus condition. Whoa. Fair surplus. Now, when they actually rate it as fair that I don't know what that means chamber-wise. They've done a nice job with the stock, but mechanically the things have been, stored someplace or they were abused in whatever way. So that's what you get for $230 right now from that direction. Again, that's an FFL weapon, so it does require paperwork. Always remember that. We're talking paperwork on all of these. They have Arsenal Refinished Good for $250. They've probably got a couple other grades if you ask, or a pick grade, which you give them another $20, and you got a rifle that's typical for what you were getting, months ago or a few years ago for about $100. Okay, so that's just the way the world works. Now, other options right now. There are still some manual, bolt-action rifles out there in modern, new production that are about hovering around the $350 mark, but you're going to have to scour the system to find them, okay? I think the best example, and again, this rifle is one I mentioned 3 months ago, and I will point out it was $200 cheaper. Mossberg Patriot 243 Win, 22-inch barrel, wood stock, blue with scope, though. Now, this is with a scope for $432.50. That's really not a bad package. 243 is one of those everlasting commercial cartridges that's going to be around for a very, very, very long time. It's a good choice. It would be an option. There aren't that many of these floating around in general because the bolt guns are being scarfed up as the next option. And if you see it in another caliber example, Remington, well, here's a counterpart, Remington Firearms, 783 with scope, bolt action, 30-06, 22-inch barrel, 4-in-1. In other words, 4-round magazine, 1 in the chamber, $387.44. So there's the differential. And again, Mossberg goes, Mossberg, they make shotguns. Yeah, well, they made rifles too, and they have made rifles in the past. They just started to get back into it a little more aggressively. The difference, $50 for the Remington. The Remington is cheaper. It's also in 30-06. And yes, there is 30-06. You can go to Ames Surplus. You can go to UN Ammo. You can go to pretty much everybody out there, and you'll find some 30-06, either PPU, brand new in the box, brand new manufacturer, or Wolf, or Tula, slash Talamo, et cetera, et cetera. There's some stuff laying around in 06, which makes it a very viable cartridge right now. It's can you get ammo? Now, is there lots of ammo out there for 30-06? Oh, hell yes. The U.S. population has scarfed up all the .6 that's out there hanging around, and it's out in our hands. It's not laying in the arsenal or in a warehouse somewhere. It's out where it needs to be in the hands of the people. So, yes, there's a lot of .6. Also, if you're going to do any caliber, I don't care what you're going to shoot right now, you buy dies as quickly as you can. Even if you can't buy reloading supplies, get the dies while you can. That should be your highest priority. Get a set of dies. I don't care if it's just 30-06, 243, 6.5 Creedmoor. Get a set of dies. If you can't get carbide, get whatever else is there. But get yourself a set of dies for the heavy calibers that you have for each one of them. We're going to need them for manufacturing. It will help us in general a lot. Okay. Now, yeah, somebody's asking, well, what about like the 223, 5.56 bolt guns? Well, yeah, they're cool. Short stroke, real easy to use, minimal recoil, very comfortable, and there's a bunch of them out there. The Axis guns, the Remington I just mentioned, they're out there in 223/5.56, okay? So they are useful. And again, very strong action. You're not going to damage the thing with military ammo no matter what you use. And purely a matter, again, of what barrel's on it. Is it a stainless barrel? Is it a chrome barrel, chrome-lined carbon? Is it just a carbon barrel? What are they using? That determines lifespan, okay, as far as that goes. But most everything out there going into the battle, we're going into right now, those weapons are fresh. They're good for decades. As long as you take care of them, they're going to be, around beyond the war once we've won. Big thing is that we need them in inventory. So if you can't find a semi-automatic weapon, remember, if you shoot them once with a big high-powered rifle, they don't get back up again. They're finished. They're done. You kaput, verboten, out. Yeah, the Glockenspiel and the Boston halters are going in two different directions, and if it's dropping right to the ground in two pieces, yeah, that's what you want to do, okay? So take your pick of, shall we say, poison in terms of the modern civilian calibers. I recommend 30-06. I recommend 308. 300 Win Mag and 7mm belted Remington Mag out there in force. They're good. But ammunition-wise, the .6 and the 308, not as much 308 because it's going into the semi-guns. You may have already noticed that. It's going to be consumed by the, pop, pop, boom, boom boys that have a little more trigger activity that's going on. So that's where most of that has already taken off to. But doesn't mean it can't be found. It is out there in force if you look around. You're just going to have to be patient, snag it when it shows up, if that's what you're committed to. By the way, on 6.5 Creedmoor, I believe UN Ammo, good point there. UN Ammo has 6.5 Creedmoor in stock right now. We don't have much, but some of the stuff is, oh my God, price-wise. But there is some 6.5 Creedmoor over at unammo.com. And it's by the case, I believe it's Silly Billet, Silly Billet. But the Silly Billet crew have been cranking stuff out. Problem, the stuff coming in right now, like in 40 caliber and in any of the pistol calibers, has been as expensive as any of the standard light rifle rounds we're talking about. In other words, I'll take that. Yeah, no, it is. I'm just looking at the prices here again real quick. There is some 10 millimeter. It's 1,000 rounds for $690. That's 69 cents a round. I can buy an AR round for that price. Same is true for 45, if not more. It's in fact almost $1 a round. 40 caliber, PMC, by the way, which is a little cheaper, is 0.68 cents a round. 68.5 cents a round. Mark, get that math right. However, let's go up to the rifle here. Did they sell out again? I thought I saw it. Oh, it's 6.8. They did sell out of the Creedmoor, because what they have left is they did get some 300 blackout in for you guys that are interested in that. 69.5 cents. Oh, no, not even that. Whoa, slap Mark of the microphone. 500 rounds. That's over $1, more than $1 a round. Oh, my goodness. For Silly Billet, S&B, 500-round case for $695. That's not unobtainium. That's just like gouge your walletium, okay? That's like, whoa, dudes. Start looking at that price. You might as well just go ahead and buy 50 caliber and get yourself a 50 caliber gun. I mean, it's only 150 rounds for $499, and you get a hell of a lot bigger boom when you pull the trigger. You know what I mean? That's where we are. Now, in the 7.62x39, everybody's got some for under about 43 cents a piece. UN Ammo's got that. What UN Ammo does have is the 6.8 SPC 1,000 round case for $1,225. And again, that is Silly Billet. And they do have it in stock. They have one case left. So whenever that's gone, that'll be the last of that for the moment until they go see what else they can dig up. So otherwise, nothing I'd write home about over at UN Ammo. The 380 Auto is like to the moon, Alice, to the moon. We're talking more than $1 a round, no matter what you look at. And that's crazy. I mean, we're talking, you might as well shoot them with a 223, or better still, shoot them with an AK round. You get more AK rounds for less money. You see what I mean? So it's like, no, I think, we're going to have some pistol ammo. Well, very little. I'd focus on buying lots of rifle ammo. If you can shoot them with a rifle, you won't have to worry about hitting them with a pistol. And what little pistol work you need to do, what little ammo you might have will probably be enough until you can strip off enemy dead or pick another gun from their corpse. Another pistol is something you might like. Maybe you don't like it, but it's what you can get ammo for. Remember, that's one of the basic rules. Can you get ammo for it? So, other things here real quick. And first I'm going to address pistols. Something about, a rule, a couple different ideas here. You saw the Kennesaw Kid, what happened up in Wisconsin with the attack on one individual by themselves. This is one of the reasons you do need a secondary firearm, just in case that first guy had been successful in stealing your rifle or trying to take it and use it on you. But here's one of the things taken into consideration. The monkey pokers, if you're grossly outnumbered like that, can reach for whatever it is that you have. So this is where a less obvious handgun comes in really handy, especially in a concealed position where it's not easily identified that you have the second weapon. I know a lot of guys like to wear, whatever plate or whatever vest system, and they've got the shoulder holster, or basically equipment where they've got a holster plate on the front. It's okay when you got good numbers around you, but remember, and you should not be in the situation that kid was in the first place. He should not have been by himself. He shouldn't have been left by himself. He shouldn't have been cut off from everybody else. That was a mistake that was made that hopefully anybody who's in leadership will correct and make sure it doesn't happen again. The buddy system, guys. Teams. You work in teams. You don't work by yourself. You You work by yourself? Well, it's like Don used to say, after the first 24 hours, an army of one soon becomes an army of none. You got to sleep sometime. That's when they come up and just hit you with a ball-peen hammer. They don't even have to worry about shooting you, right? Same is true when you're in a tactical situation. Look what happened with the young man once he was paired off. Now, this is where, with all the different variations on what you can see, the monkey pokers were grabbing him, trying to, they figured they had him knocked out or knocked down a little bit. They're trying to grab the weapon. That way they can finish him off with blunt instruments and won't even have to shoot him, okay? They can just kill him and beat him to death if they want to. To prevent that, this is why a close-quarter pistol station, a lot of guys, again, take into consideration, has to be something you can reach quick. A lot of guys, if you're getting beat on, what do? Bring your arms in around your torso. So an armpit shoulder holster is not a bad idea, but it can be seen. However, it's a little harder to see if you make sure you do it right underneath a little vest or something. The other option is obviously a belly station around the belt, inside the belt. Example is when he was down on the ground. If he would, the weapon had been taken, you do exactly what the other punk did, the one who said, "I'm surrendering. Look, my hands are up," while he was trying to get close enough to shoot the kid in the head. You do the same thing in reverse order. You huddle in, then you come back up, make sure you keep the pistol close, start putting bullets into the closest target to start knocking them down, and make sure that you share the wealth. Don't waste all your rounds on one target. Again, crotch, groin area is really a good choice. Yeah, the arm getting blown off was okay. And that was a high-powered rifle that he was doing it with. Well, medium-powered / it's still a high-powered rifle. Fact of the matter is, though, that remember, if you have multiple targets, give everybody a bullet. You got to make sure of that. If you are dazed or injured, remember, what you've got in that mag is what's going to buy you the greatest amount of time. So putting a bullet, just like you saw when he did use the AR finally, he put one right into the character's chest. That really put that target down. It might have staggered around for a bit, but it was dying. The other ones, of course, the other hit was obviously sound. But I recommend, again, share the wealth and make sure that everybody within reasonable reach has got a bullet on them, because that way they're not as motivated to try and follow up. And if you are dazed or if you are partially injured, arm injury, for instance, like we've talked about many times, how do you reload with a semi-automatic or a revolver? Well, first of all, this is one of the reasons, let me point out, this is one of the reasons the large capacity magazines were actually built. Unfortunately, cops, let me give you an example. Anybody see the kid that was shot in, I think it was out west, forgive me, I off the top of my head, I watched it last night. Cops shot him. He had apparently a airsoft gun, and he was running around. They chased him. Eventually, show us your hands. He didn't do anything. He didn't turn on him. He just didn't show him his hands, and so they wailed away at him. But here's the thing. The one cop fired 11 rounds. Now, we've talked about this. In fact, I've had many discussions with a lot of people recently on this. It's like what usually happens. If you had 5 or 6 rounds like a revolver, you have a tendency to think and you aim more and you actually hit more for less rounds fired. But this cop dumped 11 rounds, faster than it takes for me to tell you he dumped 11 rounds, okay? On target or around the target, I don't know how many hits he actually had. He definitely hit the kid. The kid wasn't dead. Not that you die right away anyway. That's movies. That's not the real world, unless it's a really, like a beaner shot where it turns everything into, inside out. You got time to think about it before you're going, okay? And that's going to happen no matter what. You can't stop that. But in this case, 11 rounds. Now, if he had been in any other situation, yeah, he knocked that one target down. But in reality, 1, 2, or 3 rounds probably would have been the max necessary or that should have been fired. But the cops, and this has been true for quite some time because now they have these bigger magazines, they have a tendency not to think in terms of conservation, but rather spray and pray. And this has been addressed by a lot of individuals where they've looked at the numbers in a shooting situation, how many rounds are fired. In the past when they had, what was the change? They used to be for every so many dozen rounds fired, it was like 2.5 hits, or for every cylinder fired, 2.5 hits when it was revolvers. Dropped down to about 1.3 or 1.4 hits when they all of a sudden went to large magazine capacity semi-automatic pistols. Now, it doesn't mean that they aren't hitting, some aren't hitting more than others, But in other words, you got 11, 13, maybe even a whole magazine. You know, the character dumps a whole mag and then, doesn't think about where the bullets went. Hit a frying pan, went through a baby's bed, went through 2 other houses, and it's in 3 neighborhoods over, down the street and around the corner. That's actually what's been going on for quite some time. We have to roll that back. We've got to get this reeled in, and you guys need to start promoting this in that we've got to have ammunition conservation, but you do need to share the wealth. If you are stuck in a situation like that kid, and you got a crowd of monkeys around you, you bangies / monkey pokers, and they're going to, one way or another, going to play Planet of the Apes, like they're going to come up and smack you in the back of the head while you're down, which one of them tried to do. You want to make sure that everybody gets hit so that everybody feels the need not to be part of the fight anymore. So just a heads up. Also, here's another thing. Where you can, you don't want to fire from below and up. I just mentioned something that everybody has a tendency to forget. If you've got a whole pile of legionaries around you and they're all monkey poking screamers and they're thrashing and whatever, guys, get yourself leveled out at crotch level or groin level and fire horizontally. Do not fire on an upward angle or a downward angle. Why? Well, it's real simple. If you're using ball, or even if you're not, you're going to hit more than one target with one bullet. So you're sharing the wealth more efficiently. Most of the time, that bullet is not going to stay with the target, with the first target. And if there's a bunch of them around you or a wall of them, the more that you put leaking holes in, the less motivated the front echelon is to proceed with the action, and they hinder and slow down everybody else while they're thrashing, screaming, and withering in pain. So you don't want, like the Kenosha Kid shootout there, if you'll notice he had to, he was from the ground, he has to shoot up on a 45. That bullet was a one-timer. On the other hand, had he been able to recover or not allowed himself to get to the ground the way that he did, the idea is that the right idea, drop to the knee and bring it to, at very least chest, if not groin level, and pop, 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 pop. Like each time you hear a pop, you're changing to another target. You don't need to hit him more than once. Especially with a 223 high-powered rifle, you're doing a good job. No, we got to, double tap and triple. No, you don't have to. And in reality, how many rounds do you have in the magazine? You're dazed. You got hit in the head with a skateboard. You're thinking, but you're hurt. You may not be thinking very well in the next 5 to 10 minutes. You ever had a head injury? Oh, you kind of hold it together for a little bit, and then you start to go into what we call jumble mumble mode. And then eventually you think you're speaking English. You aren't really speaking at all. You're kind of like, yeah, I know you were telling me something, but I couldn't tell what it was. And this happens with head injuries and other kinds of injuries. Shock is a very interesting thing to deal with, okay? Another thing is, again, the right idea, extract yourself from the situation, but what have we talked about on the air here with regard to preparations for tactical deployment? 3 smokes, 3 flares, and 3 parachute or marker flares of whatever kind. Could be a star cluster or parachute, depending on what you can find. That's our minimal issue for one of our friends or members out in the field if we were to deploy. If we have cases of pyrotechnics we pull out, everybody carries 3 smoke grenades. Better be ready to have a place to put them. Everybody's carrying 3 flares. Everybody's carrying 3 ground flares. Period. That's it. We'll break out the cases. Everybody's going to be carrying this. We're deploying hard. Now, here's the thing. Smoke is a wonderful thing in a shootout situation like this. Creates confusion, makes it more difficult for anybody who thinks they're going to spy or film anything to do anything. And in the process, with the confusion, if you're smart and you have that little backpack on, the backpack is carrying the black hoodie and a few other black items, and in the confusion, roll, move for cover, get that black hoodie on, and head off into the darkness. Throw your smokes. Everybody else, throw your smokes too. Continue to fire to engage the enemy. A couple of you switch out while the others, and again, progressively disengage by looking like the enemy. This is one of the most common things. Well, the good guys. There are no good guys in this battlefield. The cops, if they can, and not always will they be as nice as they were with the Kennesaw Kid. Most of the time they are going to be siding, as I've told you a million times, with the communists. So you need to have a way to break contact and extract yourself from the situation. Smoke and other pyrotechnics work quite well. Flares are really great. Now, here's one of the things about using a flare. If you throw smoke, throw a flare away from you. Don't leave it right where you are. Throw it away from you. A ground flare, a marker flare. Why? Well, guys, have you ever seen when smoke is illuminated, how difficult it is to see through? White smoke, gray smoke, we don't care what it is. Purple smoke, purple haze, man. Whatever it is that you do, it will help to break up and make it difficult to see past the wall of illuminated sight reduction technology, smoke. So this is another reason for carrying a combined arms element of pyrotechnics that are actually well made. Don't forget that you don't have to buy military smoke. You can also acquire test smoke for heating and ventilation. It actually is more voluminous. Typically, even the smallest container has comparable production or smoke generation to a standard U.S. military smoke grenade. The bigger they are, the more smoke they produce, and the denser the quality of the smoke. But it's also non-lethal / non-toxic / it's hygienic for the environment. So everybody will be happy, okay? I would go so far as if I were deploying a large group or if I'm deploying and, moving through an area, if you can get hold of the smudge pots. There are military smudge pots, are about the size of a large salt block or salt lick you see for doing cows and, horses and stuff. They basically have a couple of handles on them. You carry them in. Two guys should be working on that. You drop it. You pull the activator or you start it up with another flare, and you will fill up areas the size of a couple of football fields with a smudge pot. That really messes with any possible videotaping or records keeping of anything that's going on. And again, it allows you to break contact. The important thing is have change up, extra T-shirts, a black hoodie, a black ski mask, a black watch cap. Take your pick, whatever you want to put in there, or a couple of different ones. A couple of different colored T-shirts, nothing bright. Make sure they're all subdued, gray, green, and then and not lighter green, not a darker green. You don't want to be confused with black. So they said he was wearing black because you put black on, and then you take off. Well, then they're looking for it. They see the dark green. That's close enough. You need colors if you're going to be moving away and you're going to disembark. You're going to take one off, replace it with another. You make sure that you have colors that are extreme contrast, so there's no way they're going to be confused. Well, he's wearing a red T-shirt. We're looking for the guy with the black T-shirt, and he had a hoodie on. I saw him put it on, man. I saw him put it on. You've already switched out while you're heading down the road. You duck off out of sight, out of mind, drop behind a vehicle, pull the other stuff off, stuff it into the backpack, put the red T-shirt on, or even wear it underneath everything. And now you're wearing red, and red don't match black. No confusion. Oh, that guy with the black outfit, he's over there, he's over there. You even help with that. No, that guy that shot at him, he's over there. Guys, remember, add to the confusion. He went down that alley, he went down that alley. Quick, grab him, he went down that alley. Guys, think on your feet. You got to be ready to roll. Meanwhile, you're leaving in the epicenter and you're progressively breaking contact completely and moving out of the area of operation. Prior proper planning prevents piss poor performance. Let's make sure that we're all squared away on that and understand how to make things work for us, okay? Oh, what else do we have? Again, most common is the mistake of volume fire where it's not necessarily needed. Now, if you got a bunch of zombies shoulder to shoulder, sure, but you still want to get that weapon horizontal. One bullet on one target is probably going to go through two more. Now, if you drop down to knee level and it's like a really thick, well, even like some of these where you see this wall to wall, building to building, and it goes back for a quarter of a mile, you do realize if you drop down to kneecap level, do you know how many people you're going to shoot with a ball 30-06 round? Do you know what it's like going through a forest of little sticks? Do you realize how many people you'd probably hit with that? You know, if you want to do van damage, you guys, always remember, understand the performance capabilities of the weapons you're carrying. Even a .223 drop down to knee height and fan across a wide front. Oh, you've just, you've contributed to a lot of kneecapping and a lot of screaming, thrashing, and bleeding within a very short period of time. 20 rounds becomes the equivalent to 60 or 70 rounds, if not more. I don't know how many people something like that would go through. I really don't. I mean, because we're not going to go through the torso or the core. We're just snapping limbs and tearing chunks out of thighs. or tearing caps right off of legs, which is another thing that you got to remember. We're trying to hurt them. They are trying to kill you. Your job is to make sure you hurt them. Hard, hard, hard. Your enemy is going to be thinking this way about trying to do you in. You better be thinking about doing them in constantly. Anyway, let's do this before we go any farther. And for everybody, again, it is Weapons Wednesday. And there's been a whole lot of really cool music that has been put up on YouTube. Of course, it gets pulled down as quickly as it gets up. And I know that. Somebody goes, Mark, they take some of the stuff down. That's why you got to share it. You also want to hard copy it wherever you can, okay? And with the equipment that we have and the technology we have, there's no reason for you not to share. I have about 8 CDs here that I just cut last night that are music mixes. I always make sure I have extra copies of the same music mix. All the vehicles have it, and then we also hand them out to other allies. That way we have more stuff, more noise out there that's positive, double plus good. So you need to be doing the same thing. Collect all this stuff up, put it all together, and once we do have it all together, then here we go. I think I found what I was looking for. Oh, maybe they took it off. They might have. Huh. It is quite possible. Oh, there we go, finally. Okay, somebody reposted it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm going to take care of this because that way I know I can get it up here on the air. This is up in Kennesaw, Wisconsin, and not in my city by Red Pill Rundown. And this is posted on Hans, the MG42 gunner, up in Kennesaw, repost from the September 3rd, 2020 posting. And I guess he actually did it before that. That one's gone, as a matter of fact. I haven't been able to find the original. I found another one. There's other people that have reposted on their sites with different background images. That's cool. But for everybody out there, share wherever you can. Up in Kennesaw, to the tune of My Little Armalite. Here we go.
And it's up in Kenosha, that's where I long to be, protecting gas stations with commandos next to me. A comrade on me left eye, another one on me right, and a couple mags of ammo for me little Armalite. Well, this brave BLM man came marching up our street, 600 and our kiddies he had lined up at his feet. Come out, you cowardly Nazis, come on out and fight. He cried, I'm only joking, when he heard the Armalite. And it's up in Kenosha, that's where I long to be, protecting gas stations with commandos next to me. A comrade on me left eye, another one on me right, and a couple mags of ammo for me little Armalite. Well, the commies came to visit me, 'twas in the late hours, with communists and anarchists attacking parked cars. They thought they had me cornered, but I gave them all a fright, with the arm-piercing bullets from me little Armalite. And it's up in Kenosha, that's where I long to be, protecting gas stations with commandos next to me. A comrade on me left eye, another one on me right, and a couple mags of ammo for me little Armalite. To my city there came joggers, they shouted, I can't breathe. They burned down all the buildings and they all refused to leave. They rioted and looted, they went strong for 80 nights, until I started aiming with me little Armalite. And it's up in Kenosha, that's where I long to be, protecting gas stations with commandos next to me. A comrade on me left eye, another one on me right, and a couple bags of ammo for me little Armalite. The Reds came to Kenosha to riot just for fun. The DNC had told them that the cops were on the run. But communists and primates, while on a jog at night, say, remember Kyle Slaughter and the bloody Armalite. And it's up in Kenosha, that's where I long to be, protecting gas stations with commandos next to me. A comrade on me left eye, another one on me right, and a couple mags of ammo for me little Armalite.
All right, and we are back and up in Kenosha. Sorry about that. For whatever reason, it just wants to repeat, which it never normally does. But of course, the whole system is askew for the last several days. Anybody notice this? Everybody's telling me the same thing. That none of their web pages, everything's goofy. It's all chintzy, veneer, guys. The whole system is screwed. They just try to make everybody think it's going to keep running as usual, and it's not. There have been all kinds of glitches and spyware and other garbage. I think they're really pumping the spyware to the next tier. All of these new upgrades are nothing more than just more ratware coming in, and it's bogging down the system. I've mentioned this many times. I'm not impressed with any of these present machines. I've seen new machines freestanding that are plugged into the system, and they're not any faster than a machine from 20, 30 years ago. Seriously, everybody goes, well, the old machine. Old machine what? With all the spyware and all the ratware and malware, all the other garbage attached to all this junk, by the time you're done, the only reason you're getting a bigger hard drive and you've got more thrust, more speed, is so that it'll run their ratware at normal speed. That's all it does. And there's still more glitching, failure to perform, garbage that just goes out, and it's everywhere. It's not in one spot, and it's all spyware. It's all, drivel from...
Except for in the entertainment area, because that's what we built computers for, Dad, was for gaming, watching movies, and, being entertained. We didn't
right, not for information. Yeah.
We didn't build computers to use for information, data solving. I mean, if... just go back to the 50s, and if you showed the people in the 50s what our computers could do compared to theirs, they'd be like, wow, you all must be rocket scientists. We all must be going to the moon. You need so much computing power. Repeating
it. But we should be going to the moon several dozens of times. Oh, no, we haven't. Not since the, fake butt 70s, so that should tell us right there. Yeah, actually, it's always been said, if we were to take just the tabletop unit I've got here, the under-the-desk unit I've got right here, it's an old Dell. If you were to drop that into 1967, there was all kinds of throw technology we're not supposed to know about. Let's understand that. But this would have totally changed the world. A machine, just one of these machines dropped into that period like that, would have totally changed the world on a level that most people would it would boggle people.
Where's my flying car?
Yeah, we still haven't got that one, have we? They promised me a flying car. Where's my flying car? I noticed that ad. Well, of course, that ad's old, but yeah, they also promised us the Clavius moon base. And by the way, let's understand something. Based on the waves of technology that we saw and the acceleration in the 60s, the logic that was by the end of 69, we were, of course, supposed to be on the moon, which they can argue back and forth on that, but let's go by what we have in the way of a timeline. If we go by the timeline of the public demonstrations of technology, the argument was that by the year 2001, we would already be well established on the moon. There's no reason for us not to have been well established on the moon. In fact, all the technology necessary, well, think about this. How many of you remember Skylab? How many of you remember what we did with two of the last, what were supposed to be moon mission Saturns? Does anybody remember? Do you all remember Skylab? Skylab was where we took one of the Saturn V's, the last models, the most sophisticated models, put a big pipe on the top of it that we called a space station and launched it. Now, what you saw there, though, is basically where we were headed or supposed to go with a lunar landing, house mission. Take a look at the Skylab system, and understand that, the next generation would have been, the last of the Saturn rockets would have been built a little bit more to lift a medium-sized package, a little lighter than what you see there with Skylab, but would have been the same thing, basic idea. And then we would have had the Nova-class rockets in service in theory, okay? With that being the case, it would have been, dull. I mean, it would have been, how often do people stand and stare at Detroit Metropolitan Airport and watch all the 747s leave? I mean, they're fun to watch. It's fun to watch planes land and go, but we don't think about it because once it becomes a commerce event and a readily, everyday activity, you wouldn't really be thinking much about it. But that was the plan, that we would be building a production lift platform, which we'd already designed, everybody had the money for, blah, 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 but we just went sideways. So the 2001 A Space Odyssey, the whole argument, and I know about it, was done by the ring knockers, and we all know about that, okay? But let's take the timeline. The reason they could argue that 2001 would be, would look the way that it did in the movies, based on the fact that in 1969, 1970, 75, we were regularly going to the moon. And so, with that base technology, the logic would be we go to the next level, and all of a sudden we're going to town. How long does it take to build an artificial? Well, we'll think about it this way: how long does it take to build an artificial island with a military base on it in the South China Sea? China's doing it right now. Just think the same way with the moon base. If you prioritize and figure out what you want to do to build something, it doesn't take long to get the basic structures and everything up. Then it's a matter of the intricacies of the refined material that go inside the buildings, whatever the building technology is. And really, how much do you need for a basic housing, for a basic construction? In fact, once you have that in place and you can get any kind of manufacturing going, well, then the sky's the limit. And this is not like we're talking Jamestown for, 600-700 years ago. We're talking 20th or 21st century technology dropped in and available at your fingertips, with a priority towards prioritizing more sophisticated and lightweight technology to expand on the process. Just a heads up. I mean, when you walk through this, it's like you intentionally fiddle-farted around. Part of it, the argument is, they dragged us into that to get everybody to spend money. But let's remember, we were so far ahead of everybody else that they felt they had to basically cut the tendons on America's technology because we were beyond everybody's means. There was no game to play. There's no manipulation with war. If you're so lopsided, the other side can't even come near what your technology can do. So we were intentionally betrayed. I believe that's more the real story than anything. Not that we couldn't do it, it's that they were told not to do it because then the evil white heterosexual male and the male population and the patriarchy and everything would be where it's supposed to be, and the population would be stable, and we'd be building things instead of frothing at the mouth, bug-eyed, drama queen crazy, which is where we are now. Okay? Just that simple. Anyway, a sidebar, headed to the moon. Well, to the moon, Alice, to the moon. Jackie Gleason, remember? Anyway, a couple of things here real quick because we are headed towards the top. First of all, a bunch of sites are out and about. We are going to pick up even more than originally planned. Appreciate the orders that we've had come in. We've got 2 different batches of 3 and another batch of 4 that are going out shortly. Again, if you want to do quantities, it's not a problem. In fact, I'd rather if we do it now because this is limited. I don't know how long it's going to last. Hopefully it'll be for the next week, maybe if we're lucky, but the pace is building up with consumption of what's at the wholesalers. I already checked with them today, and I looked at what they have. The other thing is they don't have another stinking optic or sight of any kind. I mean, they have sold out of everything at the wholesale, and there are no iron sights, no flip-up sights, no little short rifle sights. I'd be happy with a Chinese 3-power. Couldn't even find that. Nothing out there in the wholesaler end. They are absolutely vacuum sucking. They are in whatever they got's all they got mode. it's interesting. They did get a quantity of new airsoft, well, they have BB guns, the new BB guns. They just got them in last night. They were all sold out by today when I called them. And these are really nice pieces of equipment. If you guys haven't seen the new ones, there are several knockoffs of the FNs, also of the MP40. They are full auto. They are very, very well built. Of course, they still have some that are malfunctioning. They're Chinese made, make no doubt about that. They've had some that they've rebuilt, and the rebuilds are being sold now for an even better price. They also have a whole series of handguns, basically on the same premise and lines as the airsoft pistol lines, but in 177 BB and very high powered. And this includes broom handles, Tokarevs. They've got a Makarov out there right now. So for all of you who are looking for yet another way to train, and with a little more precision and even more, oomph when it hits the other end, when you want to cut paper tough, we're talking a CO2 BB system. And they're very well made, the ones I have seen. Now, I'm sure there'll be some cheaper ones because China Sport, it's up and down roller coaster quality-wise. But for what they are, this is why they're being eaten up so quickly, and they've been sold as fast as they showed up. There were a series of Smith & Wesson J-frames, really pretty little training pistols, perfect. They actually are cartridge, BB, individual BB shot, and you have to load 5 rounds to get 5 shots. You have to load 6 rounds to get 6 shots, if it's a J-frame or a K-frame. Perfect for all of you guys who are trying to teach people how to shoot. You can't just spray and pray like a cop shooting at somebody that they're chasing after on the street. Oop, did I say that? Yeah, I did. Seriously. In fact, one of the things, if you're going to take airsoft and use it for training, or if you're going to use any of these BB guns, some of them can carry a lot more than the standard capacity for the magazines the gun carries. Well, guess what? If you're going to train, you don't want that. Here's one thing about being a trainer. You only give the student the capacity of the normal magazine so that they are used to the idea they've got to drop the mag and reload. Forever magazine shooting is bad for your students. Forever magazine shooting, it's cool because we can save time. No, that's not saving time. You need to get everybody, let's back up this way. The purpose for a training aid is to accurately simulate a real-life experience while minimizing cost and maximizing safety. Okay, that's why you make training aids. And again, especially if you can bring the cost down to pennies, then you can train a lot. And this gives you the ability to build up performance, real-life performance. And that's the emphasis. That's what's more critical than anything else. Now, I will say this, like I mentioned before about these CO2 BB guns. The ones that we're seeing now, like the MP40, guys, you could put a standard couple on the base of the gun where the inbound point is for the CO2 cartridge. Hook that up to a line system. Increase the PSI, increase the pressure, and also change the aperture so it would be even more dynamic. And I wouldn't want to get hit with that BB machine gun. You know what I mean? Now, you couldn't carry it around. It would be hooked up to a fixed system. But for area defense, somebody going and then running out of BBs because they just dumped 500 BBs on you, you know what? That would probably mess your day up. And I'm saying that, the cyclic rate would be increased, the velocities would be increased, accuracy would be more than reasonable. But remember, with an automatic weapon or a shotgun, you want to saturate the target in a cone of destruction. You don't want to hit one round on top of the other. You want to hose down the target, literally. So just think about what you can do with these things if you don't think about it either as a training aid or as a perfected close defense weapon that would supplement anything else you might have. I mean, you could saw somebody's knee off with something like that. Well, hit them in the calf, hit them in the knee, hit them in the thigh. Whatever you want to do. Put so much pain into them that they'll wish they didn't show up. But again, it's not replacing all the rest of your weapons. It's supplementing. Think about supplementing with overlapping weapon systems. You could put something like that into a static position looking down a stairwell or looking down a hallway, and all you do is hit a switch, and it fires until the magazine's empty. and then it shuts off because it has zero pressure kickback, so it confirms that you put a sensor on it. That way it doesn't just keep bleeding air because you may have other guns you plan on using in the same way. They're all hooked up to the same air feed, not oxygen, air feed. Anyway, ideas, not just complaining about the problems, okay? So we have to have solutions. Biggest problem, you're competing with everybody else, and there isn't that much coming in. I'm still curious about where the hell is High Point, because whatever's cranked out, High Point is obviously selling, but, what do they do? Roll up the sidewalks? Are they not open? Are they not in business? I just haven't had any feedback on that. And otherwise, if I were them, I would, this is the time for them to sell. Of course, the problem is none of the ammunition for the pistol calibers they have is available mostly, but, hey, when it is, you grab it and you grab more ammo. Just that simple. We're at the top. We should be hearing the music here right now. We're going to go to break. For everybody out there, it is Weapons Wednesday. It is the middle of the week. We are counting down to the shipwreck, which is in November. And don't forget, only a week away, we have the national budget shift where the Israelis are going to steal a massive amount of money from the United States. It's going to happen. Not if, not maybe, not kind of. It's going to happen. We know what the swine, the Yehudi trash are up to. The small hats are going to rip us off. They already are, but they're going to rob the bank in Friday. Does everybody forgive me? Friday, Black Friday. It'll be October. They are going to rape America in October. The Jewish mob has got their sights on the digits that they can run out of the country. Trump won't do anything about it. He'll sign off to make it happen, and only you will be the ones paying for it. So just be ready for that one. And again, we should be hearing the music. We are at the top. For everybody out there, it is Weapons Wednesday, and Libertytreeradio.4mg.com, www.libertytreeradio.4mg.com. Also, before I go any farther here, I am still here. Hold on a second. For everybody, again, if you want one of the red, blue, green rifle sights, they are available. We actually have been making a point of getting them out. We just had the latest batch leave today, so watch your mailbox. But if you would like to pick one up, go to libertytreeradio.4mg.com. Then go to the donate key, which is either at the top bar in the middle of the page at the top, or off on the right. And when you get there, what you're going to do is go to donate any amount. Donate any amount. And once you've got to that point, what you want to do is, first of all, tell us how many of the sites you want. In other words, give us a count. 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 20, doesn't make any difference. And also, we need a mailing address. Now, it's $23 per unit. This is a donation to Liberty Tree Radio. This is a donation to Liberty Tree Radio. And when you do get there, again, what you'll be looking at, what we're offering is the Axion Optic Solutions 3XRDS. Go look this up. Axion Optic Solutions 3XRDS red, green, blue dot sight, and it's $23 a unit. You can order as many as you want. Once you look at the price, you'll see why you might be interested in doing that. I know several people did already. They took advantage of this quite well. In fact, one of them is one platoon took a whole 40 of them, 43 of them. And so that we're on the fourth order right now. The latest batch that I had, I've got a handful that are left here that are the next wave, and then we, like I said, will overlap with the next batch that are coming in. And this is the Axion Optic Solutions 3XRDS red, green, blue dot sight. And when you go to libertytreeradio.4mg.com, go to the donate key. When you get to the donate key, go to donate any amount. Identify how many you want, 1, 2, 3, or whatever. It's $23 per unit. Do the math. If you want to add a couple extra dollars to pitch in to even offset the shipping, that would help. That would be nice. But 23 is fine. It's whatever you see in your heart. This is a donation effort for Liberty Tree Radio. We've got, we're not into the end of the year bill yet, but we are getting close, like very soon. But in the meantime, we have other technology that needs to be replaced, and we're always updating, and we have to cover all the regular bills. So with the other bills, other than the base bills. So the unit price is $23, and make a point of identifying how many pieces you want, because a couple people identified that they only wanted one piece, but they sent more. We got one of those cleared up. I want to make sure if anybody's listening that wanted more than one, but sent a larger donation, but didn't identify it in your paperwork, please take the time and send me an email at liberty@provide.net, liberty@provide.net, liberty@provide.net. I've got one person that might be in question on that. So if you can, do me a favor. Otherwise, everybody else, it's clear. We got a quad and a couple of triples, and then I've got another 8 that just came in as an order here before we started the program. And everybody, we're going to take care of you. I'm going to keep grabbing these until I can't, and I'll let you know when we're close. It'll be very, very obvious. The wholesaler doesn't see anything on the horizon like this coming up again, quickly. You may have another source, but not this one. And it's been pretty consistent across the board with the industry. Everybody knows everything it is out there. There's hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of pieces, but there are millions of people after them. And in this case, it's, there are only so many thousand pieces available, and now that people know where they are, they're being absorbed. So that's expected. I'm not trying to rush anybody on this, but I will say again, it's limited. It's not an unlimited. This is a finite source, just like everything else that's out there. Like toilet paper. It's a finite source. Anyway, we should be hearing the music. We are past the top of the hour by 7 minutes. And I'll double check to make sure. There we go. Oh. God bless the Republic. Death of the New World Order. We shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. The empire is on the run. We're in the march. We're going to take a short break, and we will be back here in a few minutes. The second hour of the Intel Report coming up. It is Wednesday.
Join Mark and Don for Weapons Wednesday, where you'll learn how to use everything from your bare hands to your average AR-15.
The 12 gauge autoloader.
Sure.
The 45 long slide.
Yep.
With laser sighting.
You betcha.
The Uzi 9mm.
Yes, sir.
phased plasma rifle in the 40-watt range.
What are you, crazy?
Wrong.
Okay, they'll talk about that too. So whatever question you have about whatever weapon you have, call Mark and Don on Weapons Wednesday. And remember, your mind is your first best weapon.
We all need to prepare ourselves. You might have the food, water, gold, and silver, but ask yourself, are you truly prepared? That's why you need to visit MaineMilitary.com. MaineMilitary.com carries everything you need. Gas masks, fire starter kits, high-capacity magazines, chemical suits, military surplus items, and much more. Do you own a firearm? MaineMilitary.com has a large selection of pistols and rifles suited for your needs. Are your local stores sold out of ammunition? Call or visit them today for prices on hard-to-find ammo and bulk ammo orders. You don't need to worry about having a military surplus store in your area because MaineMilitary.com is the only store you'll ever need, all from the comfort of your computer. Visit them online today at MaineMilitary.com. That's Maine, like the state, military.com.
Liberty's Guardian, Guns and Ammunition, a family-owned business located in the heart of Ohio's hunting country. Let us help you find the right shotgun or rifle for you. Or if you're looking for a pistol or concealed carry, we have a nice selection of compact and subcompact pistols for that too. Check out our website at www.libertiesguardian.com. That website again is www.libertiesguardian.com. Go to the website and check out our selection today.
I had a dream the other night that, well, I didn't understand. A figure walked in through the mist with a flintlock in his hand. His clothes were torn and dirty as he stood there by my bed. He took off his three-cornered hat, and speaking low to me, he said, "We fought a revolution to secure our liberty. We wrote the Constitution as a shield from tyranny. For future generations, this legacy we gave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. The freedoms we secured for you, we'd hoped you to always keep. But tyrants labored endlessly while your parents were asleep. Your freedom's gone, your courage lost. You're no more than a slave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. You buy permits to travel and permits to own a gun. Permits to start a business or to build a place for one. On land that you believe you own, you pay a yearly rent, although you have no voice in saying how the money's spent. Your children must attend a school that doesn't educate, and your Christian values can't be taught according to the state. You read about the current news in a regulated press, and you pay a tax you do not owe to please the IRS. Your money is no longer made of silver nor of gold. You trade your wealth for paper so your life can be controlled. You pay for crimes that make our nation turn from God and shame. You've taken Satan's number. You've traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm so they could burn down churches and seize the family farm and keep our country deep in debt, put men of God in jail, harass your fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oaths they've sworn, and your daughters visit doctors so their children won't be born. Your leaders send artillery and guns to foreign shores and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Can you regain the freedoms for which we fought and died? Or don't you have the courage or the faith to stand with pride? And are there no more values for which you will fight to save? Or do you wish your children to live in fear and be a slave? O sons of the Republic, arise, take a stand, defend the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. Preserve our great republic and each God-given right. Pray to God to keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he'd vanished in the mist from whence he came. His words were true. We are not free, but we have ourselves to blame. For even now, as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside in a dream while you were asleep and wondered what remains of the freedoms he'd fought to keep. What would be your answer if he called out from the grave? Is this still the land of the free and home of the brave? God bless you, and God bless this republic.
And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the second hour of the afternoon intelligence report. I'm Mark Cornke. One day closer to victory for all of our brothers and sisters, both on and behind the lines in occupied territories, Southwest, East, Northeast, and Central. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to us on Libertytreeradio.4mg.com, Liberty Tree Radio on YouTube, live stream, and we are on AM and FM microstations, AM and FM conventional stations, and CB base stations, along with UltraNet, Hallmark, and Golden Spike Technologies east and west of the Mississippi, along with Alaska. If the enemy shuts down the regular internet, these systems are freestanding and have never been hooked up to the conventional systems that are so heavily spied upon. Well, they'd be cutting off their nose to spite their face. We don't have a problem with that. But what happens is we're working, they're not, and our systems are, again, free and independent. They're not going to be affected by any of the problems created by the other side. And we've been thinking in the long term. So the cool thing is hardware, like I've been doing today, sorting hardware out that I route to the UltraNet or any of the other groups, especially in cabling. I just got a ton of cabling, triple armored, came from one of the computer facilities, and everything's already got jacks, hookups. It's going to go right into our system. Cost us nothing. Just a matter of picking it up, putting it in the bags and boxes, and putting it in now. I'm sorting and itemizing. Anyway, good afternoon to all our friends out there in the lower 49, including the great state of Jefferson, along with CONUS, the outlying two states, the territories, the clock, which is 6:17 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And, of course, it's Weapons Wednesday. It is the 23rd of September. It is the 12th year of open Fabian Socialist and Soviet Socialist occupation of America with a K. The messages continue. 2020 Old Earth Calendar, 2020 year of conflict, Dance of Swords, Battle for the Republic. And the adventure continues. So, other work going on right now. We were kind of touching, we bounced all over the place, including the space program. Yeah, I know, talking about the moon missions. Don't worry about the debate on that. It's not relevant. We got too many other things going on right now. It's not, we got to fight a war. So, forgive me. While we talked about that, other things need to be done. Number one, going back to the Kennesaw Kid and the attack on him, everything that we've explained on the air about why you need to do it was demonstrated with what we saw with him. Now, performance-wise, under duress, he did very well, period. There's no way you can argue that. Most people would have collapsed and would have been a statistic / a corpse / a number very quickly. As it is, in the retreat when he was moving, and I knew he was doing that, what had to be, he was moving towards the cops. He saw them down the street. That was that, mile dash through the Indian whoop butt crew, because basically it's like running the gauntlet, guys. You can't do that. He would have been better off. Of course, he did keep moving, and he moved fast, and of course in the process we've seen all the other videos, stuff that people said, well, you didn't see. I don't know, I saw the stuff that I'm seeing now that they said wasn't, not everybody has seen this. I'm sure they haven't, because the controlled media didn't release it. But all the footage I've seen so far, there's nothing that's surprising me, because the stuff that we did see the first night when it happened, a lot of it was being streamed, as it took place, and then it was pulled by Farcebook and all the other operations and YouTube. So anyway, one of the things, helmets, okay, I've mentioned this a million times, a simple bump helmet. It's obvious your enemy is talking about what? Oh, I'm going to cranium them. You're going to hit them with a skateboard sideways and bust your skull open and watch your brains leak out the side of your head. Now, I would point out that because of that, we're back to medieval combat here. And, smaller doesn't do it. Everybody goes, well, what's Mark talking about there? Okay, I've mentioned this many times, that we started out with the post-Vietnam, or at the end of the Vietnam War, we went to the Pasgat armor. We dropped the helmet length down. We brought the coal scuttle design of the German military over to the U.S., but we dolloped the back of it so you could lay, prone and pull your head back without having to prop your shoulders up. Okay, there's a little arc in the back of the helmet, but otherwise, better neck coverage and side coverage. That was a priority based upon lessons learned from Vietnam. Okay. Well, we've gotten to the point now where the problem is that they've made the helmet tinier and tinier, and in reality, there's no side protection whatsoever. And here we are in a close quarter combat situation where people are, walking along and they're getting they're getting their gourds wrung. With less protection to the side, the cleaving techniques used with the skateboard or other weapons that I'm sure we haven't heard about, including steel pipes and everything else we know they were using, the lack of side protection means that it's vulnerability points. And with a hammer, remember, it's the side of your helmet's not going to stop that. The back side where, you got the cleave in the back, yeah, but your whole side, left and right, are wide open. Guys, this gets back to when you think you're going to redesign for one BS reason because they just want to make the helmet, they want to use less material but charge you the same amount for a stinking helmet. That's really what it comes down to. So progressively, they've made the designs that are out there, a lot of them are totally vulnerable to side attack and physical, hands-on close quarter attack. But with a tomahawk or a hatchet, or, wait a minute, the enemy's using hammers, remember that there's no claw or there's no bridge or way that the helmet, what's part of it, would stop most of the blow. The hammer's going to come through to the side of those soft, chewy spots where you've got your skull exposed, and you're going to hear a cracking sound before you pass out if you're not dead, okay? So this is where, again, when you design a system, tanks we have this problem with. You design for one problem, then you fail to protect against the other. You have to go one direction or the other and commit towards a certain what you believe to be the priority threat. In helmets, it doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry, I don't care what they come up with. The designs they have right now defeat the purpose behind wearing a helmet. They really do, okay? It doesn't mean I won't grab everything. I've got mesh helmets. I've got maybe 3 of them that we got for almost nothing. I think I've got 2 or 3 of the newer, basically just pan, like literally, if you want to call anything a brain pan, where they're just barely, there's no side coverage whatsoever. You have to add plates. Well, that kind of defeats the purpose. You got to spend more money. You got less to begin with, but they charge you the same amount as if you had a full-size helmet. Then you got to buy side panels that do what your helmet should have been doing in the first place. Okay, well, that's stupid. Okay, that's just how it is. But wrap around full armor for the body and wrap around full armor for the head. Why? Because a full spectrum of weapons can be used against you. Now, I'll tell you what, hockey helmets, like I said, for the longest time, Delta Force is they don't call them, they didn't call themselves Delta Force. They let everybody else call them Delta Force. If you pay attention, you can watch movies, although they're not great, but they do offer some information. Or if you read the books, those offer more information. Pay attention. Hockey helmets. Hockey helmets are designed with what? Oh, that's right, the very threat we're talking about, being crossbarred with a piece of ash or oak smacking you in the head at high velocity. Hockey helmets afford side, front, and rear, and especially crush protection top, because in hockey you go into battle literally in a gladiatorial event. Everybody's carrying a weapon, and they may not want to or try to hit you, but they can hit you, and if they do, well, it takes teeth out. You used to see lots of hockey players with teeth missing, and they used to not wear helmets, so they'd also end up with lots of carbuncles all over their head, little knots here and knots there, all over the place. And they went to helmets. Well, the military, a lot of them grabbed the helmets. That's what the Delta Force did, and that's what they were kind of notorious for. They're wearing these weird helmets. Well, what are they? Oh, they're hockey helmets. But again, they offer side panel protection and top crush protection. Look at the design. Most of the other stuff being built right now doesn't. And so it really isn't effective for the kind of field or street action that a lot of these people are waddling into. But any helmet would still be better than no helmet. So whatever they had, the Kennesaw kid should have had, Kyle should have had a helmet, or would have been best to have a helmet. Wouldn't have to be anything too fancy, but anything would have been better than nothing. That would have eliminated some of the stun factor, with regard to the attack. Now, another thing is body armor. And I know everybody keeps pushing plates, and plates are wonderful, but plates are carrying a bag of dog food, 25 pounds. You still got to carry a chunk of weight with soft armor, but remember, soft armor offers wraparound protection, which is really what you need. Again, we're not trying to thin things out. We're not trying to just center around certain areas and say piss on the rest of it for protection. We need to be looking at all-around protection because the threat is going to try to blindside you. Wouldn't you try to attack and be unfair? I know I will be. I'm not going to be giving you a chance. I'm going to attack you in every wicked way I can if I have to fight you. Well, that's how your enemy operates, and so your armor and your protection better reflect that. Okay, proper planning prevents piss-poor performance, so we need to make sure that we square that away. You don't have to have a plate carrier, because everybody makes snide comments. Now you got this little fashion garbage going on. He didn't have a plate carrier. Well, big deal. How about just regular body armor? That wouldn't be any good. Yeah, it would have. Against blunt trauma especially, and, pokey, sticky things? Hell yes, it would. And that's half of what you're doing. You're in a street fight. This isn't just a, regular firefight. This is where you're into that quasi-Twilight Zone situation where anything can happen. And your technology, your defense technology, should reflect that problem. Or better still, how about this word? Deflect that problem. How does that sound? Okay? So I don't care what it is you work with, but, again, develop this yourself. Find what you can out there. There's not as much as there was 3 months ago, 6 months ago, or a year ago. Obviously, we're seeing this. The sine wave right now it's a seller's market. Things are short. And the stuff that is out there, even the stuff that was cheap, is now almost twice the price that it was. The only thing might be helmets. You might be able to find a deal. There are a few places. You can go to Gun Parts Corp, and they do have the Swedish military helmets for $12.50 a piece. There's deal. They actually are a pretty decent helmet. I've used them for decades. They're a good helmet. I've said many times, twice, one of those Swedish helmets, I think saved my life. It's that simple. My head wouldn't have taken the hit that the helmet did. Okay, the helmet got hit first. The padding did its job, or the webbing did its job with the standoff. Still rang my gourd, but I was able to, immediately turn around and move and work, and I didn't have a cleft in my head, and I didn't have something stuck there that I had to, don't pull back out. You have leaky stuff coming out. I would have been very, very bad otherwise. Okay, so this is why helmets, body armor, elbow pads, knee pads are all useful, especially where you're in what is the equivalent to a street gladiatorial battle, where anything and everything in the way of a weapon can be employed against you. So we need to be thinking accordingly. Now, another thing here real quick in this Weapons Wednesday is blades, edge weapons. Be quite honest, a street fight like that, ice pick. No, other than that, a small short sword would be great, or a machete. The other side's carrying them. You should too. But I'm going to tell you something. It's a real mean. It's a mean ghetto trick. It's a mean prison trick. It's a mean, brawl trick. Guys, a traditional ice pick is monstrous in that it does major damage. Hard to identify if you can at all. But you can quick spike, a person 3, 4, 5 times, and you're probably going to terminate them. But if you want to stop a joint from working, stab somebody with an ice pick, you go right through the joint, you pull it right back out just as quick, you still have the blade. But what it does in the meantime, and progressively with every moment after the injury, it is going to put the person into I don't want to fight mode. Just something to think about. I noticed I didn't say a Bowie knife and machetes I mentioned, but most people don't want to cleave body parts off people, and they don't want to go into the hacking and chopping battle axe mode of the medieval wars. But an ice pick, it's not too bloody or messy. Hard to find that somebody even got hurt, but they are. So just something to think about there. Ice picks are awfully handy, and you can find traditional ice picks out there from different companies. Purely a matter of being creative. I would point out that, like in the prison behind the wire system, what you do is you look for strapping off of beds, long pieces of suspension off of chairs, springs. There's another one, chair coils that are on springs on the seats. You don't take them all. You just take every other one. This is a prison trick, guys. You take every other one out so that the seat still stays upright. You know, the seat looks like it should. And then you're busy straightening out those pieces of stiff wire, and you're sharpening them so that you have that's right, basically an ice pick. Yeah, it's pretty mean and works really well. And in fact, again, doesn't create a whole lot of blood. Internally it does, but externally you've got basically little maggot holes. And those little maggot holes can be repeated multiple times. Kind of like being shot with a .32 ACP. Doesn't create a whole lot of blood, but it's an ice pick. I've mentioned this many times, 25, 32. Both of those are like an ice pick when they hit you. Whatever they hit, they'll go right through. Go ahead, jump in there, caller.
Yeah, and I keep my machete, I keep a good edge on it, but I keep it nice and rusty.
Exactly. Remember, we're going to give our friends gifts. Our enemy are going to receive special gifts that are going to keep giving. Exactly. Well, another thing, too, is machetes, you can keep them all over the place. I'll tell you what, Estwing, remember, Tex-Mex, I don't know if you guys were listening several years ago, but Estwing came out with a whole series of axes that are battle axes. Have you seen any of those?
Yeah, I got one.
Yeah, they're beautiful weapons. They really are, guys. I just have noticed they kind of came in, and Estwing, they probably still have them, but the stores aren't carrying them the way they were. But all of like Lowe's, Home Depot, everybody had them in inventory. The other one is Stanley. Stanley did a whole bunch of machetes, Tex-Mex. Yeah, they're machetes that look like a Roman gladius. And they're under $20 a piece, and they actually have a nice shock, rubber, grip with a complete hilt, and they are a heavy cleaving blade. If you drop this thing into the Middle Ages, people would hug you. And for what they are, perfect little utility weapons to have laying around. Another one that's been around for a long time, of course, you've got the Ontario machete, which is the most common, 20-inch or 18-inch, your choice, and they even make them down in 12s right now. That qualifies more as a Bowie than a machete when it's a 12-incher. But if you remember, Major Surplus has had 5 machetes for, I think it's like $18 forever. And they're different styles. So if you want a different type of blade to be cleaving and chopping somebody with, because you want to be creative when you're fighting, you have several different models that they offer that they actually randomly send you. And that's over at majorsurplus.com. And I believe right now Sportsman's Guide also has the same blade combination. I think they bought them from Major. I think they're drop shipping them from Major is what they're doing. But they are over at Major Surplus. I'm going to see if I can find them real quick here. But the machete is a good choice, too. And again, it is basically a short sword. It's an orc sword. It's like an orc blade. Because the ones that are usually made in like Panama or whatever are one step away from basically Jeep springs. But Jeep spring steel is not bad steel, guys. And what they've made are actually pretty decent tools / read that weapons. So machete. Let's see if I can find a machetes. Por favor. Let's see. I'm working on it. I'll see if they still have them listed. I'm pretty sure they do, because I usually tag them to see if they... Oh, okay. Well, they're not showing me. They're not cooperating. I wonder why, because they just told me to look for them, so I searched. Come on. There we go. It's searching again. But anyway, machetes are another option, and if all else fails, just steel stock sharpened, guys. If you're kind of hard-pressed, you know what? Break out the duct tape. You can make a really nice prison machete for very little money. If you got any old steel stock laying around, like old iron, rebar, iron bar, you can hammer it and forge it. Yeah, they're showing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blades for $19.95. Not a bad price. And they're basically working blades, and you 2 of them actually are traditional medieval fighting blades. They're calling them machetes, but the blade itself has the hook back, not the scimitar, but the hook back. And that was a can opener for getting into the knight's armor and getting through the whatever kind of armor somebody might be using. So they still have them over there. It's machetes, 5 assorted, $19.95. And then, of course, there's Bud K. You can go there, too. So anything else? Next, Jim? Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I was just going to say that I think those S-Twing axes that you're talking about, or hatchets, they're on, I think I remember seeing them on Amazon. But I wanted to go back to what you were talking about with the ice pick. I saw a video once, and it was pretty good, of a Latino guy and a black guy. They were out in front of a convenience store, and what the beef was, I don't know. I mean, there's no volume because it was the store camera. And, the black guy's, he kind of tall, thin, muscular. And, the Latino guy, he doesn't look like he's in all that good a shape, kind of rolly. But, they're going back and forth, talking smack. And all of a sudden the black guy starts, coming at him, throwing punches and stuff. And the Latino guy, he starts backing up. Well, the next thing you know, this guy, he's just wailing away the black guy, and all of a sudden you see the Latino guy come out with something from his pocket, which was, I'm thinking was a knife, and he goes over the top of the guy's punch and hits him just above the, that was his right side, so it would be just above his left nipple. And the black guy just stops. I mean, he just like, what just hit me? I mean, you can see the surprise on his face. And he stops. And that gives the Latino guy, he takes off. I mean, he beats feet. He's not there no more. And all you can see is a small trickle of blood coming, just a little drop. And it's right there above his nipple right there, left nipple. And next thing you know, he's kind of like staggering around and everything. And the next thing you know, he's out on the ground. But It was a perfect, the guy knew what he was doing because it was a perfect move to get just above the heart and get to those main, what are those, ventricles or arteries right there?
Yeah, one way or another, you're going to perforate something that's going to cause a lot of internal leakage. And once you start losing blood pressure, guess what? Radiator fluid leakage means engine starts to lock up. And that's exactly what you're looking for. And in this case, again, remember, you can do it in such a way that the attack, it's not going to cause a whole lot of obvious trauma. That's one of the things about using a blade. In fact, a really mean blade, if somebody's building a really wicked blade like that, what they'll do is they'll notch it. Now, I would point out, too, we have level 1 we call stab armor, okay? But level 1 originally was the cop armor, the undercover armor cops were wearing because it's what was available. Then they went to level 2, then we went beyond that to where we are now. They would not guarantee against 2 things, crossbow bolts and ice picks. Most people don't realize that, but if you read a Second Chance or any of these companies that were the pioneers, they would not guarantee against an ice pick or a crossbow bolt. In other words, the warranty was void. It will stop this or it will probably stop that. They actually was written into the old information, which I've got all that stuff sitting on the shelf here from, 40 years ago. And it was because Second Chance was right here in Michigan. The company that did all the research on, private cop armor that we see now everybody does. Second Chance was one of the big pioneers on the subject. But one of the quiet things they didn't want to talk about is that an ice pick could go right through the weave. And because, again, very, very, very fine point, long, and of course what it does is it literally, with the thrust, the point finds like a darning needle. It goes through the weave and gets to the soft, chewy stuff on the other side. So it was possible you could be hit with and stabbed with an ice pick. You may not even go all the way through, but you at least do a damage. In other words, you're getting perforated, and you don't really want that. And again, with just regular hand-to-hand conflict, like I said, if you can stick that into a joint, really mean people, knock them, and especially if they have an extra long, because when you break it off, it has a tendency not to shear like perpendicular, but it shears. Have you ever seen how metal chips? You'll end up still with enough of a point you can keep stabbing with the what's left of the ice pick after you've left a chunk in someone. So just something to think about there. That's why they used to knock blades the same way. That's one, leave a gift that keeps on giving. And by the way, like you said, if it's rusty, all the worse still, isn't it? So just mean stuff. But guess what? You're in a fight. We're in a fight for our lives. These people plan on trying to kill you. You better be planning on fighting to win. It's just that simple. And the other side, they're already telling you flat out they want to burn the country down because of the election. So it's like, oh, okay, cool. Go ahead. Let's see what happens when you do that. We'll all go on that one right now. So there is still, oh yeah, somebody's just showing me, well, that's an interesting knife. I don't know if it's as big as they're showing it is. Scorching Sand Tonto Kukri, a Tonto Kukri. Oh, that's an interesting combination. Knife and sheath, stainless blade, non-reflective TPU and TPR handle. Lanyard hole, 15.5 inches long, overall length, $10 over at Bud K. Interesting little blade, but it goes to it's not so much a Tonto blade as it is a double point, drop point blade, really. But it's interesting design. For $10, it's worth playing with. For 15.5 inches, we're a regular fighting knife. But something you can stash somewhere, again, with the plastic handles, etc. Remember, guys, if you're looking for cash knives, you want stuff that isn't going to break down. It's got stainless steel blade, plastic for all of the, the accoutrements. I'm sure even the scabbard is. It's that's nylon. But it's one of those things where if you're looking for something to put away and stash, this is the kind of stuff. Not too expensive. $10 is not outrageous. But you can afford to put multiples in multiple tubes and caches all over your area. Not just one in one place, but multiples. This is one of the most common mistakes everybody makes. I don't need a $100 knife in a cache, and then I can't afford anything else. I need something that will work. It's going to cut you. I can stick you with it. I can actually chop a few things or hack stuff if I need to use it as a tool. But I'm not out anything if I never get to it. I'm not going to cry about not digging it up. If I can't get to it right away, or maybe I pass on, we let everybody know. I mean, that's one thing I have to laugh at. The bad guys go, well, if we kill you, nobody's going to know where all the stuff is. I'm not that kind of person. I've put stuff in caches that I figure I won't get to because somebody else will probably pilfer. You know what? They're allies. I don't care. Who would they use the weapons on? My enemies. See how that works? If you all had that attitude, the other side really has something to worry about. And all of you should be thinking that way. It's like, maybe I'll make it, maybe I won't. But you know what? I'm going to send a gift that keeps on giving. We're going to kill you'll all be killing your arse from every direction in everybody else's hands. Which is how it should be. Next, real quick here. Oh, we've got a few minutes. Bud K. I mentioned Bud K. Guys, always look at their daily deals, daily steals, and closeouts, because you never know what you're going to run into that might be useful. That little blade isn't a bad little package for what it is, $10. I'd experiment with that just to see what it does. And again, if I get one and I like it, if I can't get another one, who cares? It's going to go, like I said, into the inventory. It'll go into the 510 program. I might put it in the cache if I feel it's appropriate for that. I would point out that there are a lot of stainless blades out there, not as much as there used to be. And I've been dealing with the wholesalers. I've been dealing with the people Bud K buys from and all these other companies do. And the inventory of knives is way down in terms of what's coming in from outside, for the China Sport stuff. In the folders, you might recall, we used to have a really nice collection of folders that we actually had as gifts for donation, kind of like we're doing with the optics right now. There's nothing like that out there. There's nothing. I mean, nothing. And here's the thing. Here's one. And this is Weapons Wednesday. I'm going to tell you something. Beware, guys. Do not get any of these switchblades. I don't know how they're doing it because the government's turning a blind eye, but understand that switchblades in most states are considered to be the equivalent to having a handgun. Okay, in fact, cops use them for dump weapons because it's a high crime, and they'll say, you had a switchblade. Well, you didn't know it was a switchblade when you killed him. Yeah, but I think it was. I could have been. Hey, look, he had a switchblade. They'll use it as a drop weapon. A lot of the cops carry them as drop weapons because it's not a big deal to pad your fingers on the weapon and set you up as a corpse, okay, dead, okay, or as a drop weapon to put in your car and blame you for. Very common. So what you got to do is, again, remember, you don't need them around. Your regular blade, if you know what you're doing, guys, or if you have a rigid blade, you don't have to worry about unfolding it. You just worry about getting it out of your sheath. And that's where the big balance is here. Again, focus more on strength. Your twitchy blades, they're going to be out there. Eventually, we'll have guys carrying them all over the place. But right now, it's one of the several things that they'll use as an excuse. It's bad enough that they'll probably just plant it anyway, because that's what cops do. But the big thing here is let's not provide ammunition where we don't need to. It's like automatic weapons. I don't need automatic weapon fire. I need you people to hit one round, hit the target, and put it down. And if you can line up 2 or 3, or if you have a big crowd like we were talking about, you just keep going semi-auto or keep turning that bolt gun with a ball round, and you'll hit 2, 3, 4 of them for the price of one bullet every time anyway. We don't need machine gun fire. We need thought. We need a thought process and effective fire. You hit them, you don't have to crack 20 rounds over their head and try to scare them. We don't need that. We need an effective suppression fire, or we need contact fire. We want to knock them down. It's that simple. And we want to enforce. And we want to hit more than one every time we do that. Another thing, we mentioned the Estwing, and for Randall, it is true, there are a bunch of other blades out there. Ontario Knife did a whole bunch of other unique stuff. And what's the other company out there? There's another one that's doing all kinds of short swords, gladiuses, et cetera, to the point where you can pretty well pick and choose. Now, they're simple, although they may be stainless. They're simple black plastic stocks, grips, hilts, depending on the model. And they're stainless with usually a hard coat in a subdued finish, although typically black. Okay? They're usually, I'm looking for the company right now. I'm over with Bud K, and Bud K usually carries a wide range of these too. United Cutlery does a bunch of them. Okay? They've got like the Combat Commander, that's a copy of the Gladius. But there's a tactical Spartan sword, not critical, not my first choice, but you see there's a whole series of blades like these are out there. And they're no-name brand. They're like I said, Ontario makes them too. There's more than one company that makes them. They're actually a very serviceable blade. There's nothing wrong with any of them. The carbon's good if they're carbon steel, but if they're stainless, another thing you can put in the cache you won't cry about. Go ahead.
I think you're looking for cold steel.
Cold steel, yep, that's the other one. Thank you. And as a matter of fact, when I say cold steel, guys, they have a wide range of blades. So whatever floats your boat. Now, example, I do like the kukris, and I've got at least 2 kukri knives on 2 of the different combat rigs that I've kept for decades. And part of this goes back to during Vietnam, the Vietnamese were terrified of the Gurkhas, and they were especially terrified. Of course, some people say the Vietnamese were terrified of everybody. That's not true, but they were scared to death of the Gurkhas. And the blade itself held a great deal of mystique/mysticism amongst all of the Asian populations. For this reason, a lot of the different units, and all the Special Forces units were on the ground, the 1st and 2nd detachments, all of them carried a kukri knife, every one of them. I've got a friend of mine, he's passed away. He was in with the 2nd detachment to be in Vietnam. He was the executive officer. A massive photo essay. He took thousands of pictures. In fact, his son has all of his collection now, and I've tried to get him, originally the dad, before he passed away, tried to get him to do a book. In several of the group shots, every man's got a kukri knife on his combat rig. You can pick out every one of them. And this is the 2nd detachment in Vietnam. The 1st detachment that lost a man, the first casualty officially of the Vietnam War, was with the group that they replaced, the detachment they replaced. The kukri knife, they realized, was very useful in that it just being able to wield it or have it out and about. The Vietnamese were quite concerned that you probably were planning on using it, amazingly enough, as he pointed out many times. So it is a useful weapon, but it also, again, psychologically, it is a very effective weapon that may not even have to be used. The idea that you're thinking about it kind of bothers, other people, depending on the culture they're from. But it is an effective blade and a cleaving blade. Remember, each weapon has its own, use and system for use. That's another thing you got to remember. Different styles for different techniques and blade configuration. Know the difference between them. Okay, understand how they work. And each one has its own, niche in the martial world, and all of them kill. All of them will get you killed. Not killed by accident, killed by intent. Okay, it's that simple. Well, get you killed because they don't know how to use it. No, get you killed because somebody knows how to use it. That's what you got to watch out for. Anyway, again, dealer's choice, but the kukris are out there. There are original copies that are crude, been around for decades. They're actually reasonably priced for under $20. They're actually a working blade, and I've never had one fail me. I mean, I've wailed on firewood. You can chop on animals, like if you're doing a butcher job in the field off the road when you got a roadkill with deer, where you want to chop off a busted up leg or something. So having practiced with those, it's amazing that against fresh bone, which remember is very different from cooked bone, the kukri offers a good cleaving system. Remember, the way the blade is pitched forward, when you strike, the blade is actually crossing over the wound that you've created and is self-searing. It's self-searing. As it goes, it's searing. It pushes and separates the tissue and the bone, which is why it cleaves so well. Just something to think about. Take a look at the design. Plus, you have the leverage of the blade. It's a forward angle and down. It's not, it's not like a scimitar. The blade doesn't roll up, but the scimitar does cut the same way. The medieval axes that you see, like the Viking axes, well, there's a reason they were so effective. And again, there's a method for using the axe, too, even when we talk about like the S-twing axes. Do a little research. You'll understand what I'm talking about. I can't do it on a radio program, but I can explain that, hey, there are useful, tools out there. Take advantage of them and use them and have them in the inventory. Another thing, real quick, Weapons Wednesday. Right now, I don't know what it is, although I guess it's just that the next big wave of new bows and arrows are out there. I have been getting compound bows for almost nothing. I just picked up a couple of really nice utility grade, what I would consider Centurion bows, compound bows for $1 a piece. And at a place where people, actually had a whole bunch of other sporting goods and hunting stuff, and particularly yard sale. They're functional. There's nothing exotic about them. It's just their second or third generation compound bows. And with some arrows, with a case, $1. They didn't consider them, it's not the latest and the greatest. Well, you know what? For a lot of the work you're going to do, just having more of that kind of technology around is kind of handy. You can afford to abandon it if need be and not cry about it when it costs you $1. Everything's functional, even has the sights on the weapons. In fact, they're ready to roll. They're just not the latest and greatest. I don't need the latest and greatest, especially if I want to do drop archery, where I want to drop it in like a longbow, or I want to arc it into the target and just drop an arrow in the middle of something, or if I want to hit something at intermediate, not short range, intermediate or long range. Then I'm just doing it for harassing or, make you think. I guess, and it's quiet, too, because if you do hit somebody, it's like, and, there's something you didn't expect to see. Everything and anything you've got in the way of a weapon needs to be ready for deployment and for use. It's that simple. Anyway, other stuff here real quick. We got bows and arrows incorporated into that. Arrows. Watch for anything in the way of arrows available.
Wouldn't that do a lovely job on one of these Antifa mobs?
Well, yeah, as a matter of fact, like I said, a black arrow or a gray and black painted arrow, you throw smoke, and then your archers are down the road in the shadows here and there, and you just lob it into the crowd. You do realize you're going to hit someone. Actually, you probably staple a few people together. which is something that nobody like, what? It's like, well, sure, that's good enough. I'm happy with that. If you staple, depending on what you use, and remember, your shafts are total throwaways. In fact, here's something to think about. For years, you can't use a wooden shaft with a compound bow. Why? Well, because when you use it, the bolt shatters, the arrow shatters. And I pointed out, I said, if I were shooting at somebody, isn't that what I want? And they're like, oh, you're right. Because that is what happens. There's so much energy. The bow, the arrow won't disintegrate while it's in the bow, but when it gets to the target at the other end, it's going to fracture. Well, if I'm trying to hurt people a lot, isn't that what I want? And since I don't want my enemy to send the arrow back at me, wouldn't those be optimal in a more archaic situation? Where, oh, wow, that put him right down. He's thrashing and trying to he's in pain. Yep, he is. And he's not bothering me anymore, is he? No, looks like he's busy. He's busy, so he's busy with something else now. So just something to think about there. Somebody did this years ago, and I didn't. Actually, they had a whole quiver of arrows that were as old as I am. And what they thought was cute, since they wanted to get rid of them, is they were old bolts, they were old shafts, so they were firing them intentionally into with a compound bow, and they were blowing them up, okay? And I was like, no, I want those sitting in a barrel off to the side for the very reason you just did, so that when the time comes, if I needed to be shooting stuff downrange, I can send a bolt downrange, and it's going to stick into somebody, but it's going to be in chunks and pieces as it fractures from age. I want that. Okay, see, that's people, if it's a weapon and it's already built, don't destroy it. Just keep it off to the side. Maybe it's only good for one more thud, but you know what? That's one more thud stuck in your enemy's head. It's one more thud stuck in your enemy's chest. It's one more thud stuck in your enemy's groin where he's thrashing around and it's a horrific wound and it's totally horrible. That's what the battlefield is all about. I'm not trying to be kind. They're planning on murdering me. They're telling you publicly they want to murder you.
Oh, yeah. And
so,
there's another thing. Wood doesn't show up very well on X-rays.
No, it would be pretty nasty. Yeah, you'd have to do the probe thing with the metal probe and track down the wound channel. Yep, that's exactly how they got to get it out. In fact, here's the other problem. Usually with wood, you have to carve in the sideways or come in and open the wound channel to get it out because it has a tendency to be frangible. Okay, something most people don't realize. When you get stabbed with like some really, especially older wood, guys, the cell structure is how it breaks. That's how it fractures. And for that reason, that makes for a pretty interesting, that term horrific comes to mind, which is why I used it. Yeah, so just a little heads up.
You run across the most amazing sales.
Yeah.
I've never seen a compound bow that cheap. I wish I could buy one or two of them from you.
I wish there had been more. I think I missed another one. Actually, what it is I turned. There were like 4 or 5 of them, and I think the other ones were like $2. and they had a rack of arrows attached to them. You know how you got the carriers? They were $2 a piece, and I just missed them by a moment. I got a 4-man inflatable boat for $15 there. Hey, there's stuff all over the place like this. I just picked up a machine shop today for nothing. It includes tools. I don't even know what some of the tools do, but I will find out because the quality, they're American steel from the 20s and 30s. And it's also tool and die and machine, it was machinist toolboxes. All of the quality of the machinery, of course, some of it goes back to the 1800s. Some of it, I think, 1 or 2 of them are from the 1700s. This guy had quite a collection. But the tooling that I just got today, including all of his taps, all of his dies, that's thousands of dollars. Thousands, and it was all boxed up. And the sad part is, it's like I've seen the last couple times. The family got it, and they just put it in boxes, and they didn't take care of it. And 1 or 2 tools were sitting and got damp and have surface rust that didn't exist before. Only 1 or 2. The rest are in great shape, but it's just kind of sad because the wrench is probably, I think, from the Civil War. It's an adjustable monkey wrench. It's a classic, and with bronze and brass fittings. And I recognize the company name, but I haven't had a chance to look it up because I got this stuff just before we did the program. And a lot of this stuff, guys, this is war production tools. I mean, the taps, the dies, the drills. This is what I've been telling you guys. Watch for this stuff. We need every piece of tooling we can get our hands on. I got a whole crate of brooches and a whole crate of reaming tools. Two of them, to be quite honest, look like they're actual reaming tools for 8mm Mauser. I've got to check the spec on them, but I recognize them because we've purchased them before, and I don't know who this person was. I have his name, but I don't know who he was, but he obviously was fixing weapons. And 8mm was real popular for the last 70 years as a surplus caliber, so that's the kind of stuff you're going to run into. Everything like that and anything like that, we grab it, we save it. At the very least, you get oil on everything right away. First of all, any patina of rust, you got to stop that. You got to break that down, clean that off. After that, you lubricate everything, you oil it, grease it, get it ready for use. We're at the top here for everybody. God bless our republic.
Death to the New World Order.
We shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. The empire's on the run.
And we are on the march day and night.
And again, we got Craig from Forbidden Knowledge coming up next. More live Liberty Tree Radio coming up. And then we'll be back at 8 o'clock for the evening intel report. God bless. Everybody, stay frosty. Bye-bye.
The sun will always shine on the old Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. March along with the Piper boys, we were born forever free. Let's go pay the Piper boys beneath the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Pay the price they're asking, boys. Always pay the tyrant's fee. Never give up the struggle, boys. Fight for the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Stand for the rights of man, boys. Stand against all tyranny. Hang the lance of freedom, boys. High on the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. It will grow as we grow, boys. It will be as strong as we. We must cling to our faith, boys. Faith in the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty.
This session is no longer being recorded. Goodbye.
Mark and Don for Weapons Wednesday, where you'll learn how to use everything from your bare